Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Go Ballistic. With me, Ryan Rowe, is Roger Hanna, suitably tanned, back from his holidays, and Kris Boyd is joining us to review another fantastic weekend and lots of drama too in the Premier Sports Cup. Kris, have you missed Roger?
Yeah, I did. How was your holiday, my friend?
It was good, thank you, Christopher. Very nice. Yes, thoroughly enjoyed, thoroughly refreshed, ready to go again.
Ready to go again.
An autumn and winter of Scottish football.
Kenny stood in for you magnificently. You should have seen that man last week. The attire was in top form. The tie,
Absolutely, it was a terrific shirt and tie combo. It took me back to Huggy Bear on Starsky and Hutch about 1979. It was absolutely brilliant.
Oh. So Rangers at the weekend, have they delayed the inevitable, Kris? 2-0 win over Hibs, by all accounts up there with the best Rangers have played this season. Nico Raskin comes in and makes a difference.
Yeah, well, I think it was no surprise that Nico Raskin was installed to the Rangers starting lineup. We've said it loads of times. There's obviously been a fallout between Nico Raskin and Russell Martin, but both of them need to use each other to get to where they want to get to. Russell Martin needs to win games of football, hence the reason why he's brought him back in. Scored the goal, was outstanding. Then you look at Nico Raskin, needs Russell Martin to play him if he's got any chance of going to a World Cup with Belgium. So it's about putting their differences aside and doing what's best for each another right now. Rangers needed that result. There's no getting away from it. You say Thelin and Elvis. Listen, I'm not too sure. I don't even think had Rangers have lost on Saturday night that Russell Martin would have lost his job. I think the hierarchy have made it pretty clear that they are going to back him. They'll be hoping that now that Rangers have got a win, they can kick on from here and see where that takes them. It's going to be difficult. I think when you lose the fan base, it's difficult to turn it back around. But it's small steps. It was a good result. There's no getting away from it. Nico Raskin, as I said, on the score sheet. Boyan Miovski, his first goal as well. Real striker's goal in and around that area where we've spoke about for weeks now that if you create opportunities for him, he will be in there. He will sniff opportunities. He'll get the ball in the back of the net. And, Rangers will be delighted that they've managed to get into the next round. Maybe not so happy that they're going to run into Celtic in the semi-final. But they can be pleased with their work on Saturday night, Roger.
The takeaway has to be Raskin. Raskin banked the team. Raskin man of the match. Raskin scored the goal. Boy, you've been in dressing rooms. Players and managers don't always get along. You go to your work. There's people in here I don't like and probably don't like me. So
name them.
You just need to go on with them.
Name them.
They're written in a brown envelope in my top drawer. But listen, you'll go back.
You sound like Brendan Rodgers when he was at Liverpool there. They're written in an envelope.
Speaking of managers, your old manager Gordon Strachan was one that comes to mind. He had I was going to say a love-hate relationship with Aidan McGeady, but Aidan McGeady was more often than not in his team because he knew the value of Aidan McGeady playing. I was away last week, you may have mentioned it. I was reading Duncan Ferguson's autobiography. Some of the managers he didn't get on with, like David Moyes, but they still put him in the Everton team.
Yeah.
So managers are not going, the good managers won't cut off their nose to spite their face. Russell Martin needs Raskin in the team, and Raskin needs Russell Martin, as you say, to put him in the team.
Yeah, I think the big... Listen, it doesn't matter if you're a football manager, a leader, an owner of any business, then you've got to have more faces than Big Ben because you won't get on with everyone. That's just a fact. And that's why I think the elite managers separate themselves from the rest because they will have everybody believing that they like every individual in that dressing room. And, Russell Martin, listen, he's a young guy. It's not as if he's done a lot of coaching, he's done a lot of management, but in terms of the stature and dealing with egos that he might have to deal with now, might be the first time he's came across something like this when, it probably is, when a fan base is so behind a player rather than the manager. But, as you say, Roger, and, we both touched on it, they both need to use each other right now to get, to get to where they want to get to. Listen, where Rangers need to win games of football, Nico Raskin needs Brendan Rodgers, needs Russell Martin to get to a World Cup. And as I said, you look at the performance on Saturday. Didn't look like someone who had thrown in the towel and just said, no, I'm prepared to wait and kick around for you to get the sack and then I'll come back in. I thought it was a real mature performance from Nico Raskin. Obviously, topped off with the goal. And that's one thing as well, Roger. See, when you look at Nico Raskin for his size and his physique, I mean, he's not the tallest. But I tell you what, see when he goes and attacks that ball, very aggressive.
What did you touched on Brendan Rodgers? There really interesting words for Brendan Rodgers on Friday, Boydy, about the Russell Martin situation. Russell Martin was getting, managers' union were kind of rallying behind Russell Martin last week. I was reading stuff, great piece by Ian Holloway in the Scottish Sun last week. Loads of managers backing Russell Martin in his hour of need. But probably the highest profile was Brendan Rodgers on Friday, and he seemed to be having a little bit of a pop at the likes of previous Rangers managerial teams like Barry Ferguson, Billy Dodds, Neil McCann. Were you surprised at Brendan speaking like that on Friday?
No, because you say about having more faces than Big Ben. That's exactly what Brendan Rodgers done on Friday in his presser. Like, nobody came out the weekend talking about, the Celtic board. He didn't have to answer any questions regarding that. He just flipped the whole thing around. And now everybody's saying about, Barry Ferguson.
That's clever,
eh?
That's clever. If you don't want to talk
100%.
And that's
what we're talking about.
More managers should do that. More managers should come into press conferences with their own agenda. The managers should be coming in and saying, right, I don't want to talk about 100%. Something they might want me to talk about. So, boom, here's a story for you. Here's my opinion on something else.
Roger,
people could learn from Brendan Rodgers and the way he performed on Friday.
I know you're sitting in an office these days and you don't really get out to games unless it's a Saturday. You're not really turning up at the press conferences anymore. But surely the elite managers back in the day when you were there would have gave you the heads up on something. Listen, ask me this, or I'm going to take this somewhere else. You play the game.
The best at it. Martin O'Neill was the best at it. Walter Smith, your former manager, was brilliant because you could go in, Ryan, ask him a question, he'd give you a 3-minute answer, and then after the answer had finished, you'd realise the answer bore absolutely no resemblance to the question you had asked in the first place. That's what the good ones do.
It's I think Derek McInnes's interviews are magnificent right now because he knows he's only got a set time on whether it's on TV, whether it's and he'll just talk. Very rarely does he answer the question. But you end up running, especially when he gets beat, you end up running out of time to ask him more questions, and he'll just talk and fill that period of time but that's what top managers do. They don't get caught up in the moment. And I thought it was listen, everybody's going to say that, Brendan Rodgers was having a go at the old Rangers managerial team, which he was, but it was a stroke of genius from Brendan Rodgers in terms of, I'm shifting this away from Celtic altogether. I'm going to turn it, and then everybody's going to start speaking about what I'm talking about. Listen, at the end of the day, I can't sit here and criticise anybody for having a go. If you are in the industry where Barry's now radio station, he's now his column, or he's back doing it. Sorry, you're going to ask. If you're asked questions, then you need to answer them. If you don't, there's no point in going and getting paid to do it. Neil McCann the exact same, Billy Dodds the exact same, and let's not be kidded. You can't make up anything and say, "Oh, Rangers have been playing well. They've just been unlucky." They've not been good. They've not. So you can't make stories up. And as I said, for me, it was a touch of genius from Brendan Rodgers to shift everything away from Celtic, start speaking about something else. But the question is, will they start asking him about the Celtic board again in the press conference? When is it? Today, tomorrow, ahead of that European game? Tomorrow.
Midweek. A big midweek, Boydy.
A big, domestically and in Europe.
So, Kris, if Nico Raskin has to play in Rangers midfield, for Rangers' best midfield under Russell Martin, how else are we populating that? Is it Diomande and
I think right now it's Asgard and Diomande. Diomande has struggled this season. I think that has been because of the inconsistency in the selection from Russell Martin. When Diomande and Nico Raskin play together, there's no doubt that it's a good duo. They understand each other's games. And I'll be honest with you, I think Asgard has got the potential to be a top player. His touches are lovely. He seems always, it's just nice and relaxed. And, if Rangers can start winning games of football, I can see him becoming like a really, really good player. As I said, his touches are there. I'd like to see him get in the box more. I'd like to see him scoring more goals. But there is something about him. His touches, he's elegant. There's something about him. We've seen it for Norway a couple of weeks ago as well. And people will say, "Oh, it was against Moldova." Rangers should be doing what Norway done to Moldova. Rangers should be doing that to the majority of teams in Scotland. So it's about getting players in contact with Bojan Miovski. He's obviously Rangers' leading striker right now. So it's about getting players in that forward area. But for me, Ryan, I think that the midfield three has got to be Raskin, Diamondi and Asgard.
Bit of product placement here, Ryan. Great feature in Tello Asgard. And tomorrow, Tuesday, Scottish Sun by Kenny McDonald. That's one for you to look forward to tomorrow, Boydy.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that then. Yes. You send me a paper down?
They do sell them in Terbolton.
Oh, they sell them to Bolton. Ayrshire, everywhere.
So if Tello Asgard's one of the Russell Martin signings who seems to be coming to the fore now, were you surprised, either of you guys, that it was Nasser Jiga who was dropped to make way for Cornelius and John Souttar kept his place?
No, not especially, no. Cornelius, not really a player I knew much about. Saw a wee bit of him in Canada, played Wales in that friendly in Cardiff a couple of weeks ago. And it looks natural for that side. It allows Souttar to play on his natural side in the right, closer to Tavernier. There looks a better balance to the back four. They will be tested. They'll be tested by Genk on Thursday night. They'll certainly get a test at Livingston on Sunday. But they look better. They just look better, I think, on Saturday.
Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right, Roger. That balance is key for me. I think when you look at De Jager, he's not the same with the ball. It's John Souttar driving out and then he can pop it in the midfield, pop it to his wide players. And that balance with Cornelius on the left-hand side allows him to do it on both sides now. So maybe in the past, people would say, right, okay, let's go and press one or the other. They didn't think De Jager was that good in the ball teams, I would imagine, and went and pressed John Souttar to force it to De Jager. Then all of a sudden, they were able to nick it off them. But because now John Souttar's his natural side, it's more difficult to stop him driving out. And I think Cornelius is the exact same. He can drive forward and make things happen. Roger's 100% right. For once, there's a lot more balance to that back line.
So moving on to Partick Thistle versus Celtic, kind of routine win for Celtic, but it also seems to be routine for fans protesting either at board or whatever. So you touched obviously a lot on how Brendan Rodgers approached his press conference on Friday, Kris, but his team went out and delivered on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't expect anything else, did you? I think going to Partick Thistle was always going to be a question of how many Celtic. When you go back to Kilmarnock, I didn't think they were great, but obviously managed to find the victory. But against Partick Thistle yesterday, I thought they'd done the job properly. Got forward, created opportunities, and looked dangerous again. I think a lot of the times, when we spoke about Celtic in the past, it was a case of them maybe get to one side and turn back out and then try and reset and go down the other side, where I thought yesterday was they were clinical, albeit, look, no disrespect to Partick Thistle, but that's what it should be. But you've got to turn up, be professional, get the job done, and that's exactly what Celtic done. And scored some good goals in that as well, Roger.
It's a funny start to the season, Boydy, because Celtic are top of the league. Iheanacho's come in and scored a winner at Kelly. They're in the semi-finals of the Premier Sports Cup. Sebastian Tenetke got his first goal yesterday, another really good performance. He looks a real bright
He's a good
player. One goal at home to Kairat Almaty. One goal. The whole narrative would have changed round about Celtic. That's all that's been missing in the start of the season. They've looked solid at the back. That's, without Alistair Johnson, with Kieran Tierney just getting his first 90 minutes yesterday, without Tony Ralston as well, young Colby Donovan's come in and done well. Nygren has settled and is now ahead of Arnie Engels in that third row in the midfield with McGregor and Hatate. Everything looks really, really good. One goal at home to Kairat and the whole narrative surrounding Celtic would have been different.
100%. And I think that's the frustration from a lot of Celtic fans, because they've now seen them go to the transfer market and they've seen the impact that new players have had, and they're saying, well, what if we had them a few weeks before? But listen, it's the Celtic way. That's what they've done. They've always waited until they know exactly where, or they knew where they were going to be in European football, and they've strengthened after that. Our players have went. I also think, Roger, I know like Kuhn left and Kyogo obviously left before, but you know, you've got to also, I mean, they couldn't, I mean, if you think the Celtic fans were angry right now, imagine Dyson Maeda had left as well, but you've got to be able to say, I mean, again, Brendan Rodgers is convinced them to stay. Celtic board have said they're not selling them. That could end up being should business as well, because, you know, in years going by, had it been normal circumstances and the fans hadn't turned on the board, I think Dyson Maeda would have been away as well. You know, so I think you've got to give them a little bit of credit, been able to keep a hold of him, Brendan Rodgers been able to convince him to stay until January or maybe next season, to the end of the season, whatever it may be. But again, you know, on the pitch, Celtic just win games of football. They've beaten Pittodrie one, they've beaten Ibrox, didn't play well, but come away with a point. On the last week as well at Kilmarnock, you go, I mean, listen, it's never a penalty, but it doesn't matter. They've found a way to win a game there. Into the semi-finals, looking forward to that. You know, Old Firm semi-final now as well. What an opportunity for St Mirren or Motherwell to get to a final.
What game that'll be, Boydy? Strike the board versus strike the boss. It's going to be a great semi-final.
Who are you going for?
No wonder Neil Doncaster's taking 500 tickets off each other, but allows space for the protest.
Oh no! I mean, when you look at it, I mean, there's one thing. The football might not be great, Roger, but you've always said the stories are brilliant in Scottish football.
Listen, I've always said that, Boyd. Always said that.
Kris, you'll have played with a number of top wingers in your time, different kinds of wingers. Someone like Sebastian Tinekti, totally different type of wide player to how Dyson Maeda would be playing out wide in the left for Celtic. As a striker, you know, how do you adapt to the game? You know, whether it's Iheanacho or indeed Maeda playing through the middle, you know, when you've got someone who's so direct like that.
Right, but I think the game's changed. I mean, I would be so frustrated now if I was playing, because, and it's not a criticism of anybody, the wingers right now, or Tinekti. It's just dribble. Just give me somebody that takes the ball at their feet and crosses the ball in. I mean, Neil McCann was unbelievable at it. If you look at a lot of, Neil McCann could dribble, but the first thing in his mind is, how can I get that ball in that box for a striker, whoever that was? And you're right. I mean, I've played with some wingers that were really, really good. Others that you felt as if, right, okay, you know that it might not be coming in straight away. They might want to take somebody on. They might want to go somewhere to come back and then cross it. But it's that understanding you've got to get that understanding with your winger, whoever it may be, as quickly as possible. Because if you don't, I look at strikers right now, and Miovski's probably a prime example of it. I mean, that Old Firm game, and I know he hadn't played a lot, but how many times was his hands in the air telling people to cross the ball, just cross it, I want to make my movement? Because as a striker, and I mean, I was never the fastest, but I had to go early. You know, and you've got to be that step ahead in terms of, right, I know my winger's going to cross it, so I'm on the move straight away. And if you're not, then defenders are going to defend their box. They're going to stop you getting those opportunities. So it's about getting the understanding with your winger, whoever it is, as quickly as possible. Because if you get that, then you'll score goals. But, I mean, Ryan, the striker role has changed dramatically, even since I've finished inside such a short period of time. You go from, it was always, you know, two up front, little and large. Then all of a sudden it was, I'm not talking about my waistline and Kenny's waistline there. You know, so there was always a partnership. Then it went to the one up front, and now all of a sudden, for me, I look at a lot of strikers right now, and they don't score enough goals for me. They're quite content chasing the ball in the channels, running the channels, going and closing people down. The wingers, or the majority of wingers, seem to be the top goal scorers now at clubs. I must say, I don't know if you've seen it that bit. I mean, how good was Haaland's goal yesterday? Just a proper number 9. That desire to get beyond the Arsenal backline to actually score a goal. And there's no him and Harry Kane. I don't know. There's not many, you know, old-fashioned number 9s out there anymore. You know, I feel as if I keep going on about it all the time, but it's not really something that's in the game right now. But, you know, go back to the question. You need to get an understanding with your winger as quickly as you possibly can. As I said, whether that's he's going to get the ball out, cross it in, you can make your movement, or you're maybe trying to peel off somebody to come back across him. If he's going to his left side and then pulls it back and whips it in with his right. But right now, as I said, for me, I look at the majority of teams and I would be tearing my hair out again. with the amount of how frustrated you would be if you're a number 9 with a lot of clubs right now.
So, see, talking about tearing your hair out in different
I'll
periods
get
of
it
play.
fixed again. Don't worry about that.
I bet you're glad you weren't playing in a period of VAR. Your old club, Kilmarnock, that game on Friday night against St Mirren, thrilling game, but that handball, looks kind of clear penalty, and St Mirren obviously end up going on to win the game.
Yeah, take nothing away from
that.
Yeah, take nothing away from Stephen Robinson and St Mirren and all my big side kicks and a few pops at him and everything. I honestly thought it was out of order, and I said that to him because you can't get top sixes time after time after time. And now you look at St Mirren, obviously semi-final of a cup. The job that Stephen Robinson has done is unbelievable. Loses his best players, has to rebuild a squad once again, been able to do that, and seems to get results. I know it was a penalty. It was penalty kicks at Rugby Park on Friday night, but tough place to go. To leave there and get yourself into semi-final, it deserves enormous credit. I mean, the job he's done. Could he be the next Aberdeen manager though? That's something we might touch on. But I think Ryan, the incident you're speaking about. I mean, Kilmarnock got a penalty late on, but I mean there was no VR at Rugby Park on Friday night, which Kilmarnock will be fuming with now because the free kick towards what was it, the last 5-6 minutes of the game. It's a stonewall penalty. But again, you look at it, and is it just a case now where referees are dependent on VAR to bail them out, make decisions on the pitch? It's a penalty.
What about the quality though of the St Mirren goals? Mandron's goal, Richardson's goal. Surely a big pal who's criticised them must rely.
Yeah, they might have opened the blinds to see that one.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I mean, they were absolutely terrific goals. And St Mirren now, they've beaten Hearts, they've knocked them out of the competition, they've gone to Kilmarnock, they've knocked Kelly out of the competition. They've got Motherwell, who Stephen Robinson's already taken to a League Cup final, beating Rangers in a semi-final before. They will fancy their chances of emulating what Danny Lennon's team did back in 2013 and maybe even winning it.
Yeah, but listen, I think it'll be difficult to win it, even if whoever comes through the Old Firm game because of Hampden. You look at St Mirren. They seem to do really, really well at St Mirren. In Paisley, they cause teams problems, especially Old Firm. They will cause them problems there. But I think in Hampden, it's a total different environment. You'd imagine whoever comes through the Old Firm game would be, favourites, stating the obvious, but take nothing away from Stephen Robinson and St Mirren. The job he has done is incredible. And as I said, Roger, loses his best players, lets people go, has to build a squad again, goes again, gets them there, and now we're going to move on to Aberdeen Motherwell. Could he be the new manager of Aberdeen?
Before we do that, Boyd, I need to check. You, me and Ryan will need to cover this St Mirren Motherwell semi-final because you know what it'll be like? You'll have Robert Grieve and Bill Leckie trying to get free tickets for the St Mirren end and Kenny McDonald and Andy Devlin trying to get free tickets for the Motherwell end. We'll need to cover that. Yeah,
me and you'll go. You'll need to write my report though because I'm not very good at that.
Well, don't you worry about that.
Saying that, I'm not very good at that. By the way, I might get a job in there with the names that you've mentioned there.
Be a good sub. So,
well, it is at Hampden, so I might be a sub.
But as you've said, I mean, you could probably have a weekly column. You've said before, Aberdeen fans have a go at you because you keep having a pop at their team. But at this point, how long is it before they're protesting?
Right, I've said that the Scottish Cup final has papered over the cracks. We touched on it at the time. Fantastic achievement. It had been so long. They deserve all the plaudits that they got. You can't deny them that. But I've been saying it for long enough now. Aberdeen, listen, you speak about Celtic just needing that goal against Kairat and everything would have changed. If you go back and Aberdeen had lost that shootout to Celtic, would Jimmy Thelin still be in a job? I don't think he would be because in terms of the domestic, the league performances have not been good enough. You're now looked at a semi-final where, listen, Motherwell are a good team. There's no doubt about it. They're a good team, but that is now, I think, is that the first victory against a top-flight team this season?
Yeah, it will be because it
Motherwell when they knocked St Johnstone last time.
I like Motherwell. They're playing well.
They are. Great strike from Charles. Megan Charles.
At the minute. They're everything Aberdeen aren't. They've got good options up front. They look as if they'll score a goal. The fans are right behind it. The style of play, they've got a defined style of play that they don't really deviate from. Aberdeen, what is Aberdeen's style of play?
Roger, we've been saying this for long enough now, like, and they keep throwing money at it, bringing players in, throwing even more at it, as if, like, this has to work. There comes a point where you say, right, this is over. I mean, it can't continue. I mean, every Aberdeen fan turning up to Pittodrie on Saturday would have been saying, what another opportunity this is to get us back to Hampden, where they've been for a few years now, semi-finals and finals, and obviously won it. But you're at home, you feel, right, okay, really, really good chance of going through. A Motherwell team that, they've been playing football really well, creating opportunities, but they've not really been clinical. Here is a great opportunity to get us back to Hampden, and they fail again, miserably. Fail again. There must be questions now being asked. You look at, is it tomorrow night or Wednesday night? They go to Tannadice?
The Tannadice tomorrow. I was really interested
and then Fort Park on Saturday as well.
I noticed Stephen Gunn, the director of football, leaving the club last week.
Yeah.
They will undoubtedly appoint a new director of football. And you wonder what kind of impact a new director of football might have there in the thought process, because, the last 3 games, Boydy, lost at home to Falkirk, 0-1, 0-0 at home to Livy, 0-1 at home to Motherwell in the Cup.
2 promoted teams as well, Roger.
Yeah, and they're not scoring goals. They're not looking like scoring goals. They are bottom of the league. They're now out the League Cup. And this is before you start this horrible Thursday, Sunday thing with league groups and really put pressure on the players, domestically as well. So I wonder, my own thought is, I don't think they'll sack Jimmy Thelin at the minute.
Why?
I think because of what you said. He won the Scottish Cup. He had them in an open top bus down Union Street. They'd waited 35 years for this. They've given him money. They've backed him. This 3-year project that he spoke about that he's not even halfway through. However, and there's always a caveat and there's always a tipping point, if at the end of this Conference League group stage, December time, I think it finishes a week or 2 before Christmas, if they're still down in that relegation mire before Christmas, I think questions will be asked then.
I mean, for me, I think it's got to be a lot sooner than that. We all spoke last year about Aberdeen, the start they got, the fantastic run they went on, and I was still getting criticised when I said I wouldn't get carried away. They were lucky in a lot of those games. I think if you go back to it, we'd mapped out the fixtures and we said we'll see where they are once they come out the back end of the second round of fixtures. I mean, they've won 5 games in the league since November. It is appalling. I mean, from Aberdeen standard, even Aberdeen teams that are really poor in the past would have won more games. This team Aberdeen's wage bill will be as high as it's ever been. You look at from a manager's point of view, you would say I would love to be given the opportunity to bring in my players, to spend money. The majority of the Aberdeen team as well, Roger, has been bought by Jimmy Thelin. It's not as if it's like you're scraping around waiting, oh, right, okay, he might go there. We might have to offer him a couple of quid more a week to get that free transfer in. Aberdeen have actually went out, seeked these players and bought them. The majority of the Aberdeen team has been bought.
Ryan's talking about wingers. Topi Keskinen, £800,000. Nicholas Milanovic, and in the summer as well, now isn't in the team. We'll give Jesper Karlsson a chance. Only had a couple of games, but hasn't really shown so far. And this is a guy who's played under Thelin before. Kevin Nisbet didn't look much like scoring, got a booking at the weekend again. Stuart Armstrong still to settle into that sort of Aberdeen formation. I think it could be I don't think we'll sack him just now. I think he will get through to Christmas time. We'll get the opportunity to turn it around. But, Boydy, they're his players. It's his team. He's put his stamp in it. To me, I can't see where they're going.
No, I agree. I agree. And I think now, as I said, because of the Scottish Cup victory, everybody will go on and, we won the Cup, and that's what Aberdeen fans will be saying, and rightly so. But there is no way Aberdeen fans are paying their money and turning up. And by the way, they're still turning up, because before when You know, even under Derek McInnes, when they might have not been, well, it was, it's long ball, but they were winning games of football. They didn't turn up then. There was, 13, 14,000 fans in there. They're still getting towards the 18, 19, 20,000 in Pittodrie right now. The fans are still back in the football club. The product on the pitch, I mean, it's been terrible. You can't get away from it.
By the way, away to Dundee United tomorrow night. The Dundee United team will get a rest at the weekend, and then away at Motherwell on Saturday night. Motherwell team have just knocked them out.
Roger, I've got to be honest with you. If Aberdeen don't win either, I think it has to go. I mean, I've been saying it for long enough now. You can't dine out on winning the cup. You know, a few months ago now, fantastic achievement. I'm not getting away from that. But you've got to look at the bigger picture right now. Because you won a cup, that doesn't mean that you are the man to take that football club forward right now. Aberdeen are bottom of the league, struggling to score a goal, spent an absolute fortune. The wage bill will be as high as it's ever been. And as you say, more importantly, they haven't even started playing European football right now. When you go Thursday, Sunday, they're in big trouble, Aberdeen. And I personally, if they don't win at Tannadice tomorrow night or Fir Park on Saturday, I think it is, you can forget it.
So if we're talking about that sack race, the pressure in Jimmy Thelin's only getting more and more.
Sorry, Ryan, I'll add to that. Here's Roger. Do you feel as if because of what's been going on with Russell Martin and Rangers and what's been going on with Celtic and the board, that nobody, because let's be honest, there's nobody really focused on Aberdeen and what they've done right now?
Yeah, the folk up there do. You know yourself. People up there, they don't worry about Celtic and Rangers. They just worry about Aberdeen. They will know. You know, you read some of the comments from Willie Miller and people like that. They want Jimmy Thelin to succeed. I think he's a popular figure because of what happened at Hampden in May. But as we say, that's why I don't think he'll go anytime soon. But there's always a tipping point. There really is. Listen, after this holiday of mine, my belt's the only thing that's under more pressure than Jimmy Thelin.
I'm an expert at making extra holes, mate. Give me it down.
So, Simon Murray must be in the same post-30 plan that you were on, because he's eased a lot of the pressure on Stephen Presley. They only won Premiership game at the weekend, Dundee against Livingston. He's been in great form. Again, more VAR drama there, though. What making though, you know, Stephen Presley seems to maybe have got Dundee turning some form of corner. And
well, it's listen, our colleague David Friel was at the game. I think his head was frazzled at the end of it with everything that was going on. Livy nearly won it at the end. That one, it was cleared off the line. There was two penalties. You know, you're talking about no VAR at Killie on Friday night. There's obviously VAR at Dens in the league game on Saturday. I'm not sure I was convinced either of them were penalties at either end in the last 10 minutes. But it is a big win for Elvis. I think he needed that win. If Dundee are to avoid any relegation mix-up, they need to be winning at home to the likes of Livingston. This lad, Cam Congreve, they've got on loan for Swansea. He seems to be making a huge impact up there. McCracken's playing well in goal. As you say, Simon Murray got his goal. So it was a big, big win for Elvis.
Chris, not to blow smoke up your backside, but, you know, you played in teams that were probably needing goals from a number 9 week in, week out, maybe not. You know, how much pressure is put on Simon Murray's shoulder, and, you know, what traits does he have that, you know, you maybe see a bit of yourself in? Obviously the hair's a bit different.
I think Simon Murray's he has a goal scorer. He will always cause defence's problems. He's a willing runner. I think he will work his socks off for the team, and he can finish when he gets in the position. There is no getting away from it. He's scored big goals for the clubs he's been at. I mean, I think when you look at Ross County, where they are right now, and you know, you look at what he was able to do for a number of years at Upton Dingwall, then you've got to take your hat off to him. I mean, to move back down to Dundee as well, you go back to his performances last year were outstanding. People were speaking about, you know, a Scotland call-up. And I think Stephen Presley will just be absolutely delighted that he's now got him back after an injury period there where he was out. He's now back on the score sheet, and it can only be a boost for Dundee. He is the one that's got a connection with the fans. It means so much to him. You see that when he scores a goal, he loves. I mean, his celebrations are unbelievable. He loves it. But even when Dundee score, you can just tell that somebody loves the football club. It means so much to him. And for me, he could be the difference. And I know we always speak about goal scorers, but he could be the difference with Dundee. We look at teams at Motherwell, for example, who are playing really, really good football, but they don't have that cutting edge at the top end of the field. There's a few of them in there where you think to yourself, if you had Simon Murray, you'd be scoring goals, you'd be winning more games of football. And that might be what it comes down to for Dundee, because if you create opportunities for him, he'll score goals.
All right, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Roger. That's us. I mean, we need to take it easy on Rodgers. Back his holidays, remember. You know, need to take it easy on him.
Ease him back in.
That's it. Only
one man looks as if he's going on holiday right now, though, Roger, eh? One man looks as if he's going on holiday right now with that attire.
Oh, exactly. That puts me to shame.
To be fair, I'm just back as well. I mean, probably actually no far off.
Oh, right, but you're away as well.
I was in Turkey with my lovely other half.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that with the teeth.
You'd know. No, Chris, thank you. Roger, thank you. Stay tuned to the YouTube channel for the rest of the week. We'll have the set piece with, is it Bill and Robert this week?
No, Robert's still away.
Robert.
It might be Bill and myself.
Robert away as well now. Oh, my days.
Dropping what
the
flies
best job
in
in
here.
the world, that, isn't it? It's the best job in the world. Somebody just back for 2 weeks off. Any job's gone.
We'll try and get you one. In the meantime, thank you guys for tuning in at home and watching this one. As we said, we'll have a set piece later in the week as well. And also for you racing fans, the inside track with Jim Delahunt and Robert Thompson.